Hey, what's up, guys? This is Brian at WhisperStatus74. Welcome to the community. Welcome to the channel. If this is the first time you are seeing me, please consider liking and subscribing. We are real tech for real people. Today is an exciting video. It is the unboxing and setup of the X90J full array local dimming brand new LED for 2021. It is the successor to the Sony X90J.
I've seen things people wouldn't believe.
Now, before we get started, I want to give a special thanks to Robert and Wendy Zahn of Value Electronics for lending the X90J for extended review. It is beyond generous, beyond kind of them to lend, especially to a channel our size. We have a very positive community, so I thank you guys for being the kind of community that a place like Value Electronics would love to send equipment to see and show you guys, because they cannot sell this panel again as new. This is the X90J. Again, the successor to the Sony 900H from last year. The 900H was in an interesting spot last year, coming out just below its flagship Sony 950H, but with more functionality in regards to having HDMI 2.1. It was the only display in its lineup other than the 8K flagship Z8H to have HDMI 2.1 and the Z9G the year before. However, the 900H will have variable refresh rate and auto low latency mode. So will this panel, the X90, as well as the X95, the Z9J, the A90J, and the A80J. But the 900H was a very interesting display. It wasn't the top of the line. It was a mid-range panel with so much flexibility and functionality, which is why I wanted to get this panel in for review for you guys. I just don't want to be a channel that covers the very, very high end. I want to be able to show you guys all kinds of panels. Last year we had the Sony 950H. Thank you to Value Electronics. We also had the R635. We had the A9S Master Series. But other than covering those higher end panels, I want to also cover those LEDs for you guys as well. This is going to be an unboxing and a setup. I know unboxings are very boring. I am terrible at them, but many of you want to see what comes in the box. And actually, for me, as somebody who has to pack this TV back up, it's better for me to watch the video and see how it was boxed up so I can send it back to Value Electronics. I hope you enjoy. I've enjoyed it out of the box. This is the 65-inch version. You will also see this panel with the Xbox Series X, the PlayStation 5. You'll see it do some PC gaming at 4K 120. You'll see it go against the X900E, which is on the wall at 75 inches, as well as the LG CX OLED from last year at 55 inches. So you're going to see it in a lot of content. You're going to hear it covered, not just in a few videos, but in many. It's already taken one update since I unboxed it this morning, and I think it looks fantastic out of the box. I'm already very pleased with it. So what you're going to see here, other than this long introduction, is the unboxing, the setup, and then some demo material with my thoughts. And then we're going to cover it sporadically throughout the next few weeks. Again, special thank you to Robert and Wendy Zahn for loaning us the X90J. Let's go to the unboxing. All right, guys, here we are at the crushingly boring unboxing, so I will apologize in advance for that. But some people do like to see the carton, see how the display shows up at the house. You have these two basic straps, unlike panels that are larger, that have the clips that go on the side. The last smaller TV panels that I've brought in home in terms of the carton have been more basic. They're pretty thin. The packaging within the carton is typically good, but the boxes aren't as thick as they used to be. I've seen that with TCL and other brands, the boxes get more thin and more delicate. Here is the inside of the carton. Here are the feet. You're going to see me struggle to put it back in the styrofoam, as these unboxings actually serve me to be able to rebox the panel to send back to Value Electronics. Now, unlike returning a display, because it's defective or just buying it and returning it. I do have to return it in the order that I received it to make it easier for them. So paying attention to how the feet are sturdy and very basic. Typically you don't see the manuals rolled up like that, but the remote is inside. You have cable management there with those little clips. You have the batteries. And you have the anchors. Those anchors are to secure it to the wall. And then you have your setup guides. The remote is very basic. It has that brushed finish look, but it is plastic. It is not backlit. And you have my Sony 900E at 75 inches keeping me company. You'll see this display compared directly with that in a later video. Thin remotes like last year, they're not as thick. They don't have the rubber on them. As far as the buttons are rubber, but you don't have the whole thing rubber. And there's how the feet are packaged. I need to see that because I have to repackage them the same way as well. And typically the Sony remotes operate every generation of TVs in the last few years. This is the same, which is funny when you do test two Sonys, it's helpful to have them both work, but at the same time, when you're trying to get one to do something else, it's a pain. Showing you the packaging here, the front is secured by a thin piece of cardboard taped to the actual panel. Sorry about the blurry camera. It'll refocus now. It has the typical bag over the top of it. And here's how it comes out of the box. Remove the cardboard. It does have protection in the front. So pretty basic. It is full array, so it's not super thin. It has a very basic but nice design. Small bezels on the front. The cardboard is taped to the back of the panel, and unlike other displays where it's a thin sheet, it really is kind of shrink wrapped to the corners. Now, I typically leave the plastic on the screen as to protect it when I'm moving it around. It's got the glossy screen, but kind of a foggy look to it. It's not clear. I apologize for all the ambient noise. My studio is currently under construction. I should say being rebuilt. If we go back to the back of the panel, you have the cubed look of the Master Series from before, but obviously not the Master Series. There is no cable management that covers anything, but it slopes down the back. I'll show you the back again for the HDMI inputs. But it's a nice looking display. Here's the feet. Now, what is good about this panel is good and bad. It's very simple to put the feet in. There is no hardware. You can actually lift up one side, put the feet underneath, and they slide right in. The challenge is there is no configuration like with the 950H where you can have it aiming inside. There's only one configuration. And it's pretty sturdy. It's just that for a 65-inch, to have the feet be almost the exact width of the television, it's hard for purposes of displaying it. Showing you the back of the panel once again, you're going to see the HDMI inputs. There are two HDMI 2.1s. There's the speakers. There's one on either side. The sound is okay. You have your optical, you have all your basic connections, your eARC and your HDMI 2.1s. One of them is an eARC. I really wish these companies would do all HDMI 2.1s, but we're just glad to have them this year. Again, very basic but nice design. Unfortunately, you're going to see this unboxing in a very bright room. This is my living room. So you're going to see lots of reflections. As you see me here, the plastic is off the screen. We'll go through the basic setup. Now keep in mind as well, Sony and I think both Samsung have gotten in the habit that when in menus, their local dimming is disabled. So you're going to see all kinds of blooming on the screen. I like this whole Sony intro. I like Samsung's too. We'll go through the basic setup. Very similar to last year. All privacy policy stuff. Google TV, all that. The menus do go smoothly. Now it's important keeping these displays for a while when reviewing them, as they will take a few updates, which is unfortunate because I think anything should be what it is when it ships. But we've all learned. Here's the auto calibration for the remote. It has a microphone in it. It's supposed to pinpoint where you're sitting. It's acoustic functionality. Again, it sounds okay. Unfortunately, it's just a fact now that we need to take updates on all of our electronics. And over the years, a lot of the updates were basically functionality in regards to its operating system or its interface. In the last few years, they've actually affected picture quality. So once I get a TV where I like it, I typically take it offline. And I recommend you do the same, just so your picture quality does not change, or unless you're looking for new updates for 4K 120 or variable refresher or something like that. Typically, I do not let my panels update, because if it does alter the picture quality, it's a problem. It's finishing its setup. It's going to try and get me into the Google interface, which makes you or asks you to, reset up your home screen. Now I'm going to go into YouTube quickly. Excuse me. Again, that's going to look more washed out. It is very bright behind me. And now, before we even show you anything, I'm going to go back in and search for an update. Show you a little bit of the interface. We're also going to go through, once this is done updating, we'll run our demos, and I'll show you the different picture options and settings. Sony has a very nice, streamlined settings menu. Typically, your firmware updates are typically in the About section or Accessibility section. And for this video, I'll be leaving the firmware updates, where it updates the whole time. We'll agree to it. This update actually took a while, so you're only going to see me start to do the update. That doesn't even tell me much of what the update covers, but apparently it was rather large. And what's interesting, again, these TVs have been available to most people before retailers even get their hands on them, as far as being in store. Now we're going to run through one of my favorite demos from the HDR channel, and we're going to go through some of the settings that are available. You have your custom, IMAX enhanced, standard, vivid. Now what's interesting is going through the screen, or I should say the picture settings, gaming was not available when gaming wasn't playing. So it kind of shows me, as my cat knocks over a picture, kind of shows me that, it knows when games are available. Going through the picture settings, standard, Cinema, IMAX Enhanced, Custom. I believe Custom to be the brightest, but I do like that, you know, the image does change quite a bit throughout. When you some TVs, when you change the settings, the image doesn't look much different. The light sensor, turn all that stuff off. But you can see the black level, and even in a bright room, it is very vibrant. It's a nice looking display. I believe the brightness is up from last year's 900H, but I cannot confirm that at this time. I didn't have the 900H, as I mentioned in the intro. And hopefully I'll have this panel long enough to see if it takes its springtime update. I like the tone mapping options for gradation or brightness, or even disabling it. So having tone mapping is pretty cool. Normally that is something you would only see on OLEDs. And black, and what's funny is black adjust, which is a feature I always liked on Sony's, does make a big difference. You wouldn't see it that much on Sony's from back in the day, but you see it right away. It almost acts as an advanced contrast enhancer. I actually like the feature. Now these demos, typically a lot of them are from LG Global or Samsung, but the HDR channel has great demos. They are actually in HDR and 4K. The reality creation, it has a lot of the usual suspects. Keep in mind that the more processing you add, the more artifacting you'll see. But I like the ability to, with Sony, is to make the image look as natural as possible or as artificial as possible. And there is no right. I think everyone gets caught up in what is the most accurate, and it really determine what your preference is most important. Sometimes people like having motion interpolation enabled. They do like having color added, live color, things of that nature. I am right in the middle. I like some of the processing added, but I like a natural image as well. I do like being able to add saturation. But you can see in a very bright room, the display handles reflections pretty well. And again, going through the settings, I'll do a settings video before I send it back. So if you have anything you want to see on the X90J, let me know. Or if there's a specific game that you want to see from either the PS5 or Series X, if I have that, I will try to oblige you. And I also have a ton of older titles on PC, which will also show. These settings are very similar to last year. Now keep in mind that this does have the new cognitive processor, and it does look very good. So very impressed with it out of the box. Now again, all these demos are full screen, so it's hard to get a handle on blooming. But on the demos that have like bubbles and, it seemed to handle those pretty well. And we'll definitely put this panel to the test. Now, for me, as someone who's reviewing these, it's very important that if you're used to LED or OLEDs, to kind of clear your palette when you get back into LEDs, to judge them alone versus comparing them, because obviously you're going to have blooming on any LED. But you can see the black level there. I found it to be impressive. I thought the panel looked really nice. And you'll see these areas here. It handles things very well, even with the reflections behind it. Again, we're really putting the TV to the test, as it's super bright in my room, and even the haloing you see there is pretty minimal. But definitely looking forward to putting it through its paces. Now, please let me know also, what is your expectations for a panel of this level? Right now, it's priced decently. It's not as cheap as the 900H was, but the 900H had an excellent price point. Black level's good there. So let me know what your expectations are for a panel like this. Very natural. I like going through the settings here to show you what it can actually do. The sound, again, is decent. You see a lot of Sony's very natural, not oversaturated colors. They're very natural. So with these demos, we're trying to show you all kinds of content, be it outdoor, natural, landscapes, vibrancy. But if you're used to dealing with Sony, the menu is very much the same, where LG has revamped their menu this year, which I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of yet. But I do like the flexibility Sony is offering here. They have less presets than they used to. As far as Cinema Home, Cinema Pro, Sports, a lot of that's been streamlined. For me, in regards to gaming, I'd love to see a kind of like Vizio, where they have a performance game mode and then they have a cinema type game mode where local dimming is enabled. But Sony typically has a very good looking game mode. So just showing you how much the image can change by putting on some of these features. Now again, local dimming is on medium here. A lot of people get pretty sensitive about putting on some of these features. I think it's really up to whatever you like. Live color, in HDR, live color looks nice. It can look very saturated outside. So it's all depending on what your preference is. You can see here how the black adjust does make a substantial difference. Enabling it here for just messing around with some of the features, see how they look. But it's very punchy. It does seem very bright. It's got nice, contrast ratio seems good. And the black level seems nice. These are not easy demos for any display to run. And you'll see it also in a very dark room as well. But overall, for my first look into it, very happy with it. I think it's a fantastic display. And we're going to see how it performs in gaming. Like I said, you're going to see it go against the Sony 900E and the LG CX, and we'll see how it does. But again, what are your thoughts on a panel at this level? Would you rather go with the higher end TCL, Hisense, or Vizio, or would you go with this level of a Sony? Where's that brand loyalty and functionality? Having HDMI 2.1 is very important for Sony this year. We just needed to get the updates that it needs, but again, you're going to see it compared to, you'll see it use the Series X and the PS5 and the PC. You're going to see all that on the channel very, very soon. Anything you want to see, please let me know in the comments. Thank you guys as always, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.